Alright, quick video, hopefully. Luddite returns. Straw Man returns, of course. They always come back with a straw. Man. On Love, Zuzak, killing and Mendem pushing the button at the end of the world. So yeah, I'll go back here a little bit and play some of this. There are lots of, he makes an argument against derived energy by basically saying derived energy points out that, humans are kind of dim, stupid animals. And his argument is that now, the fact that, his argument, Luddite's argument, is the fact that humans can recognize that is evidence that they're not dim and stupid. But that's the dig, right? It's only an aberrant human currently that recognizes that. It's not the human, it's the aberrant human. So when humans at some point become rational, Spockian, logical, sensible, then derived energy's opinion of humans will likely change. But it won't change the fundamental premise that the good humans now would have fairly and sensibly recognized the dilemma of their plight and responsibly took hold of that and said, okay, we're going to do the right thing. We're not going to be stupid and dim. We're going to be intelligent and wise. So, your argument fails in the sense that humans aren't demonstrating. Humans overall aren't demonstrating anything but this crass, ugly, foolhardy, stupid, myopic ignorance. In spite of the buckets of knowledge they have sitting all around them, they're just clinging to the dumbest and the stupidest and the easiest ideas because they're good clubs to beat the truth off of themselves with.
Of utility maximizers, which is quite disgusting to me.
Right, so it's disgusting. He hates utilitarianism, this idea that it isn't about what you're spiritually experiencing. It's not about your hysterical and womanly emotions. That somehow it's really about the truth of the circumstance. What exactly is the circumstance? And it's about some sort of rational recognition that, a plane crashes, and the people who died in that plane crash aren't more valuable than the people who died by drunk drivers a few hours earlier. We could come up with 150 or 200 or 300 people killed on the highway by drunk drivers, and somehow their death is ignorable. Who the fuck cares? And somehow these silly people that fell out of the sky and died really quickly, these other people might have died, puking blood and hospitals and broken limbs all over the place and really a mess. They don't deserve any sympathy, any national attention. Let's all pay attention to this tragedy. Let's all pay attention. Let's all pay attention. No, they don't deserve that. And somehow the falling out of the sky thing is the important factor. If you fall out of the sky, somehow that means something. It's as nutty as a religion.
So, what begins to happen when one contends that the only harm, if you will, that can befall a creature is suffering? Is you have people like in Mendem saying, well, let's gas 2-year-olds.
No, well, I never said we should go out and gas 2-year-olds. I suggested in a thought experiment, give me a rational argument of what the harm is. Describe the harm to me, the stealing of some sort of real thing, because a 2-year-old obviously doesn't have any aspirations, any realistic, any cognable, definable, real, substantive investment. They're just a feeling little blob. They're a puppy dog. And, they're certainly valuable to parents, but I'm saying outside of that network, outside of the impact in and of itself, I'm asking for a description of the harm. That's not, is that a crime? Now that means I want to go and stalk them down and hunt them down and kill them. That's not I have no ambition to do that. But all of you have to you can't take anything seriously. You turn everything into slander, just demonstrating even more clearly how deficit you all are. How pitiful it is that it's an aberrant human being that can actually listen and hear and say, oh, it's a thought experiment. He said the word thought experiment. He said he doesn't want to kill 2-year-olds. He says it's just, I want the explanation. I want to hear how you rationalize the harm, the negative, the wrong impact. How something in the universe is now deficit in and of itself in this event. But no, you can't do that because that's not consistent with human assholery.
Right. This is the logical conclusion of said reasoning. Because the only way that this 2-year-old can be harmed is via suffering. And I think that this is very mistaken.
Right, well, you can say it's very mistaken, but you're not going to make a rational argument except an argument from silly, girly emotions. Cuteness, the argument from cuteness, the argument from bullshit, nepotism, the argument from your emotional attachment, not an argument from rationality. So again, that's why we can impose all this suffering on these animals, is because you've negated the existence of the thing that matters, which is the harm and the suffering, and you've somehow said, well, because they don't want to become professors at MIT, that we can negate their entire existence. Because they didn't fall from the sky in an airplane, they don't matter. They're not spectacular enough. They're not interesting to us. Even though they fulfill any rational category of should be interesting, even though they meet all the standards of should be interesting, somehow, because they don't say, I'm for Jesus, they don't matter. So you're just validating and verifying the very point being made. And you can talk about how you think something's ugly. I think this is debaucherous. I think this is, you can't go any lower as a perversion of the truth. Than to wallow in emotionalism and nepotism.
Seen as a reflection of this kind of utility maximization understanding of man, right? Because there are many ways other than suffering in which an entity can be harmed. So, for instance, if somebody were to rob me of all of my memories, which include memories of painful things and so on.
Yeah, we were just talking about how that would harm you in some way. And again, I don't think you can make the rational argument that would in fact harm you. You could say, I would sense I'm harmed. Well, how would you sense it if they took the memories away? And you didn't know they took the memories away. You were going to somehow sense the absence of the thing you don't know of? I don't think that's possible. So you're not going to describe a real harm. You're going to again describe a projection of value. So ignore the thing of real value, the suffering, and wallow in the projections. Wallow in the imagery you create, your illusions, they use it for black holes now. They were doing your hologram, your fake, phony, three-dimensional piece of nothing, because it looks right, not because it is right.
I would consider that as being harmed, or killing me without my consent, so on and so forth. So,
well, I mean, does nature kill you with your consent? No. So you're just talking again about somebody taking your death to their advantage. Now that's a violation of the social contract. You have a sensible right to say, well, maybe nature, maybe dumb forces can decide and a stupid universe can decide, but some asshole human isn't going to decide. So again, you've degraded humans again, because humans can't apply that kind of judgment of whether you should live or die. No, but dumb forces can. Dumb forces are qualified to make the decision, but a human with a brain, well, they're disqualified. It doesn't work either.
Loving my children. Let's say, theoretically, that Mintam were to slither his way into their bedroom at night with some of his gas.
Just to point out, I never suggest I had any ambition to go suffocate 2-year-olds. I have any interest in that being done by society, or I wouldn't vote for it all. Well, I don't know. I mean, you have to see the whole bill. Maybe there's something else in there I would vote for.
And I had the ability to stop him. I would I would smash his face through a brick wall and not think twice about it.
Well, there, you just said it. Would not think twice about it. Yeah, you wouldn't think 4 times or 500 times or 7 million times. And maybe that's the whole problem. Nobody wants to think too much. They don't want to really consider what exactly is the implication. What exactly is the value exchange here? Do I really have a possession right? Do you own your children? Why can't somebody else say they claim ownership? They claim an understanding of what its welfare is, and they're going to protect it because they've identified it as something that's worthy of protection. I mean, because somebody owns a dog, can they beat their dog? I don't think so. And if I was to interfere and stop them from beating their dog, why wouldn't I have a right to do that? I mean, I'm not talking about a social right. I'm just talking about a cognitive. If you have the ability to see a wrong, you know it's wrong, there's a grenade to jump on, it's intrinsically my right to act. I'm an acting thing. I have the faculty of being able to act, to do, to interfere. You can't say I don't have a right to interfere from nature, because of course from nature I do have such a right. And from competence of intellectual contemplation, maybe I thought 2 times, maybe I thought 5 times. Maybe you were going to take that 2-year-old to the doctor the next day to have more chemo treatment. And I'm saying, no, you've tortured your possession enough. Your possession has a right not to be tortured. I mean, I don't want to change your thought experiment. Like, you're just saying that I have some sort of malicious desire to slither and kill for no reason. So yeah, if I have no reason, you certainly have a right to stop me. No, I'm not disagreeing with that. But I am disagreeing with this premise that somehow you know what's best, or somehow you're acting out of knowledge of what's best. You're acting out of your personal possession rights. You're not negotiating and say, I as a human being think this child is better off not influenced by this snake creature. You have a right to do that, but you don't have a right to be illogical and say, I possess ownership of this child and I will decide what's in its interest. That's arrogant and obnoxious to intelligence.
I would rip his fucking heart out and feed it to him.
Right, so this is part of your not second thinking thing, right? Because again, you're going to argue that the suffering that might incur for me, I mean, I don't think you could actually rip my heart out and feed it to me. I don't even think that would really work. You'd be feeding it to a dead person. So you should say I'd rip your liver out and feed it to him, because then you could equate it as being very, very painful and very, very unpleasant. And so you'd be causing this horrible pain and unpleasantness to prevent a harm that would only be happening to you. Your losing of your rights of possession. Your losing of your right to have some fairy tale in your head that she's going to marry well and have a very nice life. Yeah, so in your utilitarian equation, somehow your selfish claim of ownership and possession and your emotional disappointment that somebody might violate your possession and your ownership is somehow more important than experiencing the horror of having your liver fed to you.
Right? Without thinking twice.
Well, you said it twice now, so that's pretty bad, right? I mean, no intellectual should ever endorse not thinking twice, right? They should at least think twice. I'd argue that they should advocate thinking as long as you possibly can. Think as many times as possible. Thinking's a good idea. Mix it around a little bit and see if it is the right idea. It's a good plan. The smart thing to do is to think a lot.
At the same time, let's provide another theoretical situation. Let's say a group of sadists had captured my 2 children and they said to me, we're going to torture them in the most unimaginably awful ways. They will suffer in ways that you can't even at the current time envision.
Well, I don't think
and you're going to have to watch and listen to them scream in agony so on.
I think it
And they
really...
provided me with that infamous red button stating, you can prevent, the only way you can prevent the said suffering is through pushing the button. That would erase all life, all sentience on Earth, instantaneously. They come closer to my children with a knife. They hand me the button. I would smash that button faster. I wouldn't think twice.
Well, again, you're saying you wouldn't think twice. I'm not saying it's not the right answer, but frankly, I don't think you can justify any torture.
Unimaginably awful ways.
The fact that
suffering ways that you can't even at the only way you can prevent.
I don't think that was the end of the video, was it? I think my browser.
Closer to my children with a knife. They hand me the button.
Try again.
I would smash that button faster. I wouldn't think twice.
Okay, so you said I wouldn't think twice 3 times in this video. And my simplest argument is no. Foul, wrong answer. Okay, you got to think twice. You got to think a lot. You got to really weigh that one. But again, so you're just validating, acting out of pure selfish possessive emotion. Your attachments are somehow stronger than anybody else's attachments. You just said it was a harm to take away somebody's memories. You're going to wipe out everybody's memories. Everybody's doing of any kind of anything. And so you've totally negated all that because of this connection. And so maybe your concession here is that humans are fundamentally irrational. And so you're validating derived energy's argument that it is. Human beings are fundamentally irrational. But again, I think we can recognize those as vices. I guess, you could have just said in this video that you do concede that not thinking twice thing isn't very smart. It's not very rational. It's not very logical. Right? Yeah. I think so. So anyway. Yeah, whatever. Try again, I say. But maybe without the slanderous misparaphrases. Please.